Looking back over the past few weeks, I don't know what I'd expected. Gold? Ancient relics, perhaps? The idea of the unknown was more enticing than the treasure itself, despite what most of my crew would say. Of course, at this very moment, I can't imagine they say much more than, "Run! Don't stop! Come on, we have to go! Left! Turn left here! Okay. Now, everyone get down, and for God's sake, shut up!" The group of 5 did just that, all crowded into a cavity really only big enough for 3, almost akin to the lower rowing decks. Home sweet home. Gunnery Williams led one of the various groups trekking through the dense rainforest. They had all agreed to split up and search the small island for any trace of the so-called X marks the spot. This had been a mistake. Williams sat in a squat position, cradling his short-nosed blunderbuss with relative calm. The other men, however, shook like sails in a storm. "What are those things?" This one gripped his rifle until his knuckles were white. "I don't know," Williams responded. "But if they can bleed, then they can die too." He held up a finger to his lips, and everyone became silent. In the distance, soft steps crunched through loose sticks. Williams knew he had to make every shot count, as they had limited ammo. Everyone was silent except for the rhythmic breathing and nearly inaudible clinking of shaking guns. The crunch came closer and closer, and then stopped, mere feet from their hiding spot. An indiscernible distance away from the rest of my crew, Henry and I, along with 3 others, chopped and stomped our way through thick underbrush. "Any idea where we're headed?" my first mate said. "Not quite yet, no. We will spread out until we find traces of something, anything." I did not look back at their faces, but their soft sighs told me everything I needed to know. Getting here had been most of the battle anyway, I thought as I trudged through the mud. What's a bit of a hike through trees? I then raised my fist for my men to stop. All around us we hear a soft rustling sound, similar to a breeze, but there was no wind. Since disembarking we had not seen any trace of life. As far as I could tell, we were the first ones here. We all raised our weapons and stood in a circle, mimicking the bigger one forming around us of the shuddering foliage. I can say that in all my years as captain I have never known true fear. Sure, there have been times of panic, but never true fear. Fear that makes a man wet himself, or the kind to make someone beg for mercy. No, never has such a thing crossed my mind. That is until the first of my men disappeared below the leaves with a muffled scream. There was no use in firing, in wasting our ammo. No, there was only one recourse left. "Run! Come on, this way!" I commanded as the leaves shook in rebellion and started following us. Williams raised his blunderbuss, sighted the gun, and fired with a blast of gunpowder that temporarily made him see spots. The shrapnel tore through bark, but hit nothing else. "I don't see anything, Williams," said the man to his side who was swinging his cutlass with ferocity into the undergrowth. Another of the crew vanished under the leaves. Williams had little time to react to this, so instead he, too, sprinted off towards the middle of the island, with the remaining 3 men that followed close behind. "Williams, I don't see any blood," one of them said while running. He didn't respond. He didn't need to. Whatever was on this island did not want them here. No amount of treasure could justify what was happening. "Oh, I miss my cannons," he whispered to himself. "Henry! Henry!" "I'm right here, Captain." He appeared from behind a large rock, dual-wielding a saber and a pistol recently fired. We had arrived at a large collection of boulders to rest. The movement in the least stopped. So far, 2 of my crew had disappeared. I can only imagine the countless others among the other groups. "Both of you rest here for a moment. I'm going to check this out." Henry and the other shared a glance, then nodded in understanding. Around the corner, a rough-cut makeshift staircase wound its way up the central boulder. I smile to think we've reached our goal. Atop the central rock, I can see many of the trees like a crow's nest. The sea breeze envelops me once again. While scanning the island, I hear an almost imperceptible whisper in the wind. "You should not have come here." I assume the lack of food and general fatigue has me imagining voices now. Strange. I inspect the rock closer and, to my joy, find an indentation at the very center. Down below, Henry begins hearing movement again. "We should have never come here," he says to the other. "Be prepared to fight." This rustling, though, sounds different. Almost sounds like running. "Who goes there?" Gunnery Williams and his one remaining man slide into the rock, only to find a pair of sabers and pistols pointed at his head. "Pleasure to see you too, Henry." First mate helps Williams up with trembling hands. "What happened to the rest?" he asks. "I'm assuming the same to you." "Aye. We have yet to see anything, though." "Us neither. Where's the captain?" The indentation was a faint line etched into the stone. Without thinking first, I stomp it in. At first, nothing. Then the entire area began shaking. "Ah, I see," said Williams. At that, another faint line appeared on the central rock, until a door opened like a gaping maw. All stood, likewise slack-jawed, at the new development. I sprinted down and saw what I had done. "One man stand post out here. The others were instructed to head for the center. They should be arriving soon," I commanded. I must have startled them, for everyone jumped and then scowled at me, still speechless. "Well," I continue, "let's go." Inside, the space was as expected, wet and gloomy. All of our lanterns had fallen during our fleeing. Unfortunate. "Turn back, turn back. Come not one step closer." Did anyone hear that? The other four shake their heads. More wind whispers. "Beware the curse," Henry says, then smirks. I didn't find this amusing, but given the circumstances, I ignored it, and we continued on splashing and feeling our way through the narrow corridor. To be fair, I didn't know what I expected coming into this. Honestly, no one did. The thrill of adventure had, yet again, possessed me into making such decisions. For better or worse, it was hard to tell. Such thoughts were pointless in this short life. They want adventure, winches, and rum. Everything has a cost. It was this thinking that had created, at first, a small disconnect in morale. That, in turn, became a fissure so wide there was little I could do to mend it. Some might say, impossible. Yes, a starving man is indeed not so unlike a beast, and if I had paid more attention, I could have seen what was going to happen next. In the end, we were all rapacious beasts. We reached a large circular chamber. It was almost cliché in its perfection. "That wasn't so bad, now was it?" No one else laughed. This is, of course, in light of losing life for the sake of one man's ideals. Now was not the time for moral dualities and philosophical thinking. In the middle of the room, sitting on a large dais, a hoard of gold, gems, and the like sat seemingly unperturbed for centuries. "Ancient relics of a time long past," I said to the room with an echo. "This should be enough to patch up the ship and feed the crew." I could barely contain my joy. Behind me, the others hollered in happiness and excitement. There was one problem, though. Getting it back to the ship. We walked up and knelt before the treasure hoard. I scooped up a handful of ancient coins and let them fall to my fingers with a clatter as they cascaded. But there was another sound that caught my attention. The familiar sound of a hammer being cocked. The crunching sound of mechanical parts. The click of a pistol. I felt a cold barrel press against the back of my skull. "Mutiny." "Aye, Captain. You should have shot me on the ship. It's over now." "Why, though?" This, I realized, was a stupid question, but I vocalized it nonetheless. "Stand up and face me." So I did, with hands raised. "You think the crew will just follow you? That they will respect you after killing me?" "They already do. You led us to our deaths for greed, and I will do no such thing, and they know it. What of your plan to get this," I gestured to the heap of booty, "off the island? You'll die if you leave here." He smiled. Damn it. This was premeditated long before arriving. The others looked away in shame, but made no attempt to stop him. "No honor among thieves, huh?" I too smiled, but for the last time. There was a flash, then a bang, then silence. But then, I opened my eyes. At first, I thought maybe another crewman had saved me at the last second. No such luck. The dark cavern was now a musty cabin, though there were no smells or sensations to speak of. "It's all I have left. You will find gold there," His voice was fading. How poetic. "Beware the curse! Beware! Beware!" His decrepit form slumps. Whoa. Talk about deja vu. I hadn't been aboard that ill-fated ship in weeks. Yet, I muse, here I was again. Though this time, I look over the crumpled form of the former captain, and, well, to myself. There I was, gripping that accursed map with a mischievous gaze. But it wasn't deja vu nor a flashback. After looking down at my hazy form, I found I had quite literally become the very thing I swore didn't exist. The crushing existential crisis of realizing the curse had been real was nearly enough to kill me a second time. Thinking quickly, I knew there was a second chance to stop myself from making the mistake again, lest the cycle continue. "Beware the curse!" I saw my head turn in response. "Beware the curse," the wind whispered. Looking from my periphery, a vague human figure shimmered in the fading candlelight. "Captain, everything okay?" It was Henry, my trusted first mate. "You're sweating and look like you've seen a ghost?" "Ghost? No, I had no idea how to respond. I looked at the map in my hand, then at the sallow, rotting form of the captain. "Beware what curse, you think?" I composed myself and breathed in the putrid air. My imagination again got the best of me, is all. "There are no curses or ghosts. We are not savages. Scupper the ship and let's be on our way." I clutched the map and stopped before I leave the room. Curse. What nonsense. We are men of reason, not superstition. Such things don't exist. I board my ship and feel a strong wind tug the sails. I shoot across the deck back to my previous ship. I have to stop this, I think. I have to warn him before it's too late. Before all this is repeated. Now I see what the curse really is. The idea terrifies me. "Navigator, set a course for the south. We have a map to explore."